One thing that Mandy that I talk about a lot is how is it possible that the first bands that came into existence are the greatest bands? The Beach Boys. How does that band happen? How? It had to happen. How is the first pop star of, the modern era? Well, some would argue that was, Nat King Cole or Frank Sinatra, but the first rock and roll pop star, Elvis or Little
Yeah.
Richard. I mean, how does Little Richard happen? It's like the most perfect rock and roll music, screaming, rebellious, angry. It's perfect. Muddy Waters. How is John Lee Hooker? How are these the people? Because they had to be that good, right? To make us all still be here talking. But
Uh,
isn't it? Have you guys ever talked about that? How insane is it that the Beatles, the Stones, the Beach Boys, like you can that these are the bands that start the whole thing. The greatest band. How is that possible? That you start not at a B, you start at an A plus plus on all of those. Isn't
right.
that crazy? What does that say to you
Is it
about?
because of the originality factor that sort of they were innovators? Like you guys are the musicians, so maybe you have a different take on this, but it was like the newest of the new at the time, and everything since then has built on that. So we look back to them as the greatest because they're the foundation. I don't know.
What do you think, Marty?
And I think there's a certain magic of the universe involved,
I was gonna say, yeah, I
A lot
agree
of
um,
with you.
magic.
yeah, but also there's very important, all everyone you mentioned had very specific influences that were a combination of things, one thing, at least with the Beatles, which is interesting for me as a musician. I mean, I've grown up doing music for more of my life than not, analyzing music, learning songs, teaching songs. And I've actually never loved the Beatles more than today. It's only growing. And so I think about them a lot and I analyze them and I study them. And one thing that was, I think, a huge part of Beatles is that they played those the Hamburg, Germany era,
Yeah.
where they played all their favorite covers for 10 hours, beyond what you should, beyond comfort,
Hmm.
that they were, and we talked about building vocabulary, they played longer and harder than was probably healthy, but the fact that they did 10-hour gigs like every single day playing all their favorite songs, a combination of influences, it just got inside of them to then make their own music built off of that, vocabulary that they were ingesting.
Yeah.
And then also the universal magic, the magic of the universe was that these four different personalities
Hmm.
complemented each other in the most magical way. They weren't the same kind of people. They all just had this perfect, each ingredient made them, better as a whole than
Yeah.
they were individually.